Here we go. We are about to talk about warm milk and bankruptcy. And we'll ask the question, was Mackenzie Shirilla's court trial the full thing, not live streamed as a favor to her daddy? But first, I want you to listen to the way Mackenzie Shirilla talks to her mom. Check out this curvy road she drove down, supposedly, according to her, blacked out or something under some medical condition, nearly 100 miles an hour. It is so freaking curvy. But listen.
Okay, well, you're going to call again. And you really need to set up video visitation, like right now.
Honey, it's pending. I can't even get in there yet.
I really feel like I'm on like American Horror Story Asylum.
You can do that.
There's the road.
Did you hear me?
I don't know.
Because that way if you want to call, I can keep working. And then you can
Oh, so I told you that I did that, like the iPad form.
Okay, I think I muted it. We're going to see more of that road at the end. I just want you guys to see it, how implausible it is. Their theory that, she turned the corner, she blacked out, and oh my goodness, so like a, Mario Andretti race car driver was able to handle the curves of that road into the Plitco building, going top speed. She had to be very aware of taking that curve. Anyway, how many of us, our moms would have backhanded our face if we would have talked to her that way? But you'll see, we're going to talk about all this milk stuff, all these milk demands, everything in the text messages between Mackenzie Shirilla and her dad, and even her boyfriend at the time, Dominic Russo, and she spoke about milk with him. Anyway, you're going to call again. Mackenzie Shirilla was demanding her mom, Natalie, set up this video visitation. And they never got it set up. If you go to my Plunder body cam videos channel, that's where I've been posting so many jail calls. We've got 97 to get through. I was trying to show you guys more of this. I want to see the whole screen here. Today's video, we are talking about Mackenzie Shirilla, her mom and dad's Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which was filed May 19th, 2022. That was 73 days before the crash. The crash happened, as we all know, July 31st, 2022, and how it may have impacted Mackenzie's thinking. She would be one of those poor and broke bees she spoke about. It reminds me of Anna Delvey. You know that case where she's like, look how you're dressed. You're poor. Are you poor? All the girls who are overly concerned about designer labels, and men too, of course, go through this. People who are overly concerned about, oh, look what I'm wearing, and I forget, those aren't her moon boots, but she has Gucci this and Michael Kors that and all the things. But in reality, the reality was much worse. And I'm not saying anything about people who file bankruptcy. I mean, that's a decision. I'm getting into this because of how it may have impacted Mackenzie's mind around the time the crash happened. What was she thinking? What was she going through? Okay, I also want to hit on all this hubbub about the word milk. Everyone's talking about the word milk. Here's that drone video. You will see it's going to take off. It's going to show Pearl Road. It's going to show when she turns right, not the actual car, of course, but this is the jury view, I guess, or the judge actually went and drove this road so she could see what Mackenzie did, the road she drove down. It wasn't like just driving down a straightaway. You know what I mean? It's easier, of course, to hit 100 miles on a straightaway if you're on the Autobahn or something. Not if you're on Pearl Road, okay? Pearl Road. I wonder if this will show up backwards. Either way, you'll get the drift here. I want you guys to see this a little more, and I don't want to do much editing because I'm editing so many things. So, we're going to hit on the word milk. We're going to talk about the bankruptcy and all these documents. If you want to download the PDFs for yourselves, oh my goodness, there's 32,000 pages worth of text messages with Mackenzie and her boyfriend Dom. I went to Pacer and got their bankruptcy documents. There's only 277 pages of text between Mackenzie and her dad, but they talk about milk a lot. Now, people have their theories of why they speak of milk, and it might not be what you think. People are assigning sinister motives to, was it drugs? Was it some kind of weirdness going on there? Did warm milk mean something else? I don't think it did. But before we get into that, let's talk about these jail phone calls a little bit. I've been publishing so many jail phone calls over here on Plunder body cam videos, and this drone video goes kind of slowly, but you can see it's like they must have flown that drone really lowly, really to give people insight. I know I've seen videos of people driving down the same path. I don't know, I didn't really want to do that. It just felt kind of creepy to me, but I understand why people did it. And you will see the curves she would have had to hit. It just blows her theory out of the water to me. It makes it implausible, unbelievable that she had some kind of medical emergency or what have you, or POTS maybe made her pass out. I don't think that would have made her stick 100% down to the ground, the gas pedal, pedal to the metal, and then hit this curve correctly coming up. You'll see. So anyway, one of these jail calls sticks out with me where at the end, Mackenzie Shirilla tells her daughter Mackenzie, it's over there on Plunder body cam videos, her full trial might not have been streamed as a favor for her daddy.
There was a what's it called, a live thing? Like it was live?
It was supposed to be, but it wasn't.
Oh.
So I think that's...
So that's good.
You have 1 minute left.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a favor to Daddy because I was his friend, I don't know.
And I was like, oh, wait a minute. I see from his LinkedIn, Steve Shirilla did work as an art teacher pre-K through 8th grade at this Mary Queen of Peace school. He worked there from January 2019 to presently being put on paid administrative leave. We don't know if he'll go back there or not. But prior to that, for many, many years, almost 10 years, he was a graphic designer, integrated sales media coordinator. It's my local channel. Okay, look at this curve. For WKYC TV from 2005 through January 2014. So that's nearly 10 years in Greater Cleveland. Mackenzie speaks about these publications, different ones. She talks about who, as the story grows bigger. The video I just put up, she was really afraid. She's like, oh, why is this making national news? Look at this curve right here. Imagine going, I don't know the progression, of like when she went from a few miles an hour to 60-something to 90-something. But imagine hitting these curves at top speed. So anyway, he held a position, Steve Shirilla held this position at WKYC for nearly a decade. And her mom was claiming, oh, maybe they didn't live stream, Mackenzie, your full court trial because we can't find the full trial anywhere. It wasn't live streamed. And at first I was getting really angry, like, wait a minute, Steve Shirilla has that much pull? Look, another curve. And then that's when she went into boom. And the sign, I believe, looked differently, of course. So I'm like, wait a minute. Steve Shirilla has enough pull to get, was there an approved media source, WKYC? Were they approved to live stream the entire trial? 4 days? And was it shut down because of him? See, there it is. It's pretty sad. There it is. It's pretty sad. I don't know if that tree was there. I don't know when this was filmed, and you see something tied around the tree. And then she went, boop, off that way towards the sign. That blue tarp, I think, is still there on Google, images, Google Maps. And then the drone flies up. Almost like you think Dom and Davian's souls flying up to heaven. Oh, we just pray for them. Some people literally think they see things, in the video, but, it's hard. I can't imagine what the parents and loved ones have gone through. And, contrasting that with, I also put other videos. I want to just put, of course, interestingly visual things and the discovery. This is the car. Look at how much she ripped it up, how much Dom's side and Davian's side was just so, especially the front end, so crashed in. I was like, oh, he didn't stand a chance. We probably can't see this 4-day trial anywhere, the totality of it, not necessarily because of Steve Shirilla. On August 9th, 2023, there was a brief objection to refusal to allow media to live stream proceedings. Now, there's no document attached to that. Maybe I can find it. We don't know the details of that yet. WKYC did stream live on August 21st, 2023, when Mackenzie Shirilla was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison for the deadly Strongsville crash. That car. But now, of course, post the crash going viral on Netflix, everyone wants to see the entire trial. I don't think we can, but I don't think necessarily it's because of Steve Shirilla's pull or power, even though Natalie did say, I think they, did that as a favor to Daddy. They didn't live stream it. I was like, I better not find a judge's order granting WKYC, you can live stream the whole trial. And then it not being live streamed because of Steve Shirilla and his connection working there for nearly 10 years. I want to get more info because I have been putting in a lot more FOIAs, digging for a lot more information. Let's talk about, the bankruptcy. Mom and Dad's Chapter 7 bankruptcy. It's a 57-page report. It reveals the money problems Mackenzie's mom and dad had right before the crash, basically less than 2 months prior to the crash. So this plays into Mackenzie's mindset, I'm sure. If she had any inkling that her parents had money problems, she may have started to lean more and more on Dom to take care of her, which it seems like she started doing when I started transitioning through these milk text messages, as I will call them. For a time, they go from a lot between her dad and Mackenzie. She doesn't mention milk with her mom at all, which I find weird. They kind of transition over to talking with Dom. Dom becomes, I guess, her dad figure. So we'll get through them. So the money problems, the bankruptcy, how it plays into it. Mackenzie's up there, flossing and faking on Snapchat with these fat stacks of cash, like, she's got it going on. But if she really realized, okay, if Dom was going to leave her, her wild and malicious mindset might have said, oh, no, you're not. I'm taking all of us out. And it wasn't the first time she was self-destructive, so I'm learning more. Maybe, she decided I'm going to crash all of us into a wall. We'll all be gone, so I don't have to worry about my reputation. Death before dishonor in her mind, maybe. Okay, Mackenzie, we know she was all about showing off her designer labels. Again, I said those fat stacks of cash on Snapchat, which maybe it's just because I'm 57 years old. It looks so idiotic to me. When people would always show off all that cash, what are you doing with all that cash, liquid cash? And people would hold it to their ears. It just always looks stupid to me. Anyway, Mackenzie was showing off she was dogging out broke people. So imagine if Dom broke up with her, she had to go back and live with her mom and dad, maybe get a regular job. Nothing wrong with a regular job, Her sister, who I haven't said her name, she has a regular job, or at least she did back then. I don't know what she's doing now. But Mackenzie's parents had nearly $400,000 in assets. What was that beep? I really hope my microphone's still working. Maybe that's just the King Corso next door. Huge dog. Anyway, they had about $173,000 in liabilities. Her mom made more money than her dad. I won't say where she works, but I'm sure that's probably still true now. Perhaps especially so after Steve was just, put on paid administrative leave. And imagine if he totally loses that job. Look at this crushed car, will you? Just, ugh. So this financial status also plays into the mindset also of what the Shirillas might do for money. And that reminded me, have you signed Dom's sister, Christine? She has that change.org petition about the victims, being more important than influencers in prison trying to make money and profit off their notoriety from their crimes. So this is how all of this matters. Now, I've gone light on the Shirillas. I have not been dogging them out like a lot of people have. I'm not one of the people who, is talking about everything they did wrong as parents. And I'm thanking God every day Mackenzie is not my daughter, let me tell you. But everyone is an expert on how they would have raised her better, and I see why. The way she talks to her parents is deplorable when we get through these text messages. And Mackenzie does not have an older sister. That's a different woman with the same name as her sister. I won't say her first name, but her last name is Shirilla. So they find this other woman and they haven't researched past it, some people, and they're like assuming, oh, that's her sister, until you dig deeper and you're like, that's not her. But in the Chapter 7 bankruptcy, the Shirillas did list both daughters, Mackenzie and her younger sister, on their form. They listed their 17-year-old daughter and their 15-year-old daughter at the time, May 19th, 2022. Does the dependent live with you? Yes to both. Now notice they didn't mention Mackenzie living with Dom back then, although she was living with him. So Mackenzie does have a sister 2 years younger than her, not the woman people found online who's older. Shares the same name as her sister. But Mackenzie was 17, May 19th, 2022, when they filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and her younger sister was 15. So now that Mackenzie will turn 22, August 2nd, 2026, that means her sister will be or already is 20 this year. Oh, that's the church they broke into. Did you see that church video? Okay, all these money issues definitely impacted also the type of legal help the lawyers Mackenzie can get. It all matters. And I saw Mackenzie was listed as indigent status on some form. I downloaded a bunch of her court documents today. So this all informed her, choices and mindset at the time of the crash. Now let's talk about this milk madness and read these messages. Oh my goodness. They are crazy. Okay, the word milk is mentioned like a total of 27 times in Mackenzie's text messages with her dad and with her boyfriend. So 13 times she mentions milk with her dad, and then milk is mentioned 14 times in her text with her boyfriend Dominic. Let's read these text messages. Okay, at the time she was only 15. 15-year-old Mackenzie to her dad is like, can you make me warm milk? And most people are like, wait a minute, it's January 4th, 2020, but it's 2:43 a.m. And they're like, who texts their dad at 2:45 a.m. to make them warm milk? First of all, if you're up, just make it yourself. Anyway, her dad texted back, sorry, just seeing this. You still want milk? So it's 8 hours later, 10:42 a.m. Now, a couple of nights later, Mackenzie again to her dad, can you make me warm, Nikki? And then she changes it and says, oops, milk. It's January 6, 2020. It's 11:30 p.m. Dad is like, okay. 1 minute later, he texts back. And then, this is the weird part. In fact, this is the one I just put up. Let's go there. That was them in court. In this video, her mom starts crying when they talk about Anastasia, the movie. Anyway, this is the weird part. January 6, 2020, Mackenzie texts her dad back, thanks. When you come in, be quiet. So it's like, some people are kind of like, what's going on here? First of all, who texts their dad in the middle of the night and to bring them warm milk and then saying, be quiet when you come in? But again, there's an explanation for all of this potentially, and we won't know it, or we didn't know it because the entire trial wasn't live streamed. We'll get there. 2 months later, Mackenzie is texting Dom. But what if people run out of milk? Or like important-ish like that? So it's March 15th, 2020, and Dom is like, milk is barely ish. So I think you know what happened 2020, that year, the year of the C-19. And I think they were having a conversation because I like context, and they were talking about, if the stores run out of food and stuff like that. See, I wish they had live stream every single day. Okay, so now moving on, still in March 2020, Mackenzie is texting her dad, can you rub my feet? It's 11:30. Yeah, it is weird. I must say, who texts their dad to rub their feet? No reply from him until hours later, apparently after her threat to harm herself. Now, this is what I'm talking about. I really tried to clean these fingerprints off. I guess I missed some. Anyway, no reply from her dad. But then the very next day, March 23rd, 2020, police and fire departments responded to a threat, a crisis to harm herself. And she was 15 then. So her dad texts back, I do love you, and I did not say anything about Dom when you were leaving with Mom. Please let them help you at the hospital. So it's weird. I know that has nothing to do with milk, but, just kind of reading through what I've read through, I was like, wait a minute. March 22nd, can you rub my feet? No reply. The very next day, she's threatened to harm herself, which, can be a form of course, we take it seriously. No one wants anyone to harm themselves, but some people potentially, like Mackenzie, maybe she wasn't serious about harming herself. Maybe she was. Some people use it as a manipulation ploy. That's what I'm getting at. Now, a couple of months later, 15-year-old Mackenzie, May 3rd, 2020, 7:30 p.m. Dad, can I please sleep over at Dom's tonight? I won't ask for a while. I just want a night with friends. Please, let me tonight. It'll make me really happy. Please, Dad, I just want a night away from home. So now, in Ohio, I had to look it up, the legal age of consent for any kind of, messing around activity. It's 16. Now, because she was 15, any messing around between her and Dom, and he was, 18 at the time? That's a crime. So I give the dad, Steve, props for this. Look, people aren't talking about this. He replied to Mackenzie, no. So people say, oh, these are the parents that never told her no. They did tell her no. She just didn't want to accept no. They're waiting for Mackenzie to come in the courtroom. This is sentencing day. So anyway, the dad is like, no. He tells her no. He's like, sorry, don't argue about it. It's a no. And what does she do? Of course, she argues about it. Please let me, Dad. She's begging. Your dad says, look, Kens, I'm not doing this with you. Sorry. The answer is no. Please just accept my wishes. He's telling her, look, no, and do what your mother and I say. Please don't turn this into anything that causes me to come get you now, okay? He is saying no. Obviously, she's 15. She's spending time with Dom. I don't know what they were doing. At least he's saying, you can't spend the night. He's telling her no. Okay, the next day, Mackenzie's texting her dad, can you get me spray paint? Blue, hot pink, and purple. Like right now, please. I'm like, are you kidding me with these texts? Now the day after that, we get back to more warm milk. Can you make me warm milk? We're on May 5th, 2020. It's like midnight. It's like 12:06 a.m. No reply. So I think her dad is either asleep or getting sick of her, 3 days later, can you make me milk? This time, it's May 8th, 2020. It's 3 a.m. Her dad texts back, okay. Mackenzie to dad is like, can you do it now? We will see. At the end, I think a lot of this, unfortunately, is anxiety and a bad stomach condition, but it's masking itself under, I don't know if it's borderline personality disorder, something. The girl has problems. They haven't been dealt with correctly, and I'm not the type of person to say I'd know how to deal with them correctly, but seriously. After that one, Mackenzie's like, can you make me milk? May 9th, 2020. It is 10 a.m. though. It's not, the middle of the night. Then she says, text me when it's done and I'll come back. First it was 10 a.m. and then when she says, text me when it's done and I'll come back, it's 4:30 p.m. Then dad is like, why would you leave? It's done at 4:49 p.m. So it sounds like she's like, make me milk. He makes the milk later that day. And then she leaves. Like, just no regard or no respect. Mackenzie's like, I wanted to spray paint. So it's like a minute later, 4:50 p.m. She's like, I'm with people now. And dad texts back, when I tell you to wait, thanks. So I don't blame him. And then one thing that gets me, I was looking at the text messages. You can see the sent versus when it's read. It's like she didn't read it until almost an hour later. And that really annoys me when it's like people who she's texting him and it's like, respond now, right now, please, back to back. But when he texts her back, it's kind of like, oh, she'll read it whenever she gets around to it. That annoys me with people. Now, Mackenzie, on May 13th, 2020, can you make me hot cocoa? I know it's not milk, but it's 1:21 a.m., but she's like, can you make me hot cocoa? And her dad is like, 10 a.m., 10:23 a.m., many hours later, sorry, I just saw this. Now, months later, instead of talking about milk with her dad, she's talking about milk with her boyfriend. So this is where a transition of sorts happens. Mackenzie to Dom, she's like, I can't eat after midnight the day before my dentist. Yes, 12 a.m. Dom is like, well, that's not bad. And she's like, but I drink warm milk before bed, though. And she's like, though, you could just hear the whining. It helps me sleep. And Dom is like, well, just drink warm milk at 10 p.m. Like just drink it at a little bit earlier. And Mackenzie's like, I'm probably going to be at your house. And Dom is laughing, LOL. Now, months later, Mackenzie is texting Dom. It's August 25th, 2020. She's like, I fell asleep with milk and it spilled all over my bed. And it's 3:44 a.m. And Dom's like, oh no. He texts her a lot later. So, he's not up at 3:44 a.m. or he waited, 7 hours, almost 10:18 a.m. Now, here we go again with Mackenzie going back to asking her dad. October 27th, 2020. It is 12:48 a.m. and she's like, can you make milk? Again, her dad's like, sorry, I was already asleep when you sent this. Sorry. He apologizes twice. He reads it at 7:17 a.m. Now, the next month, Miss Demanding, she sends a one-word text to her dad. Milk? It's November 4th, 2020. And then she sends question mark, 3 seconds later or less. And then after a couple of minutes, no answer, she's like, okay, or not. I understand people can have anxiety. I'm not laughing at anxiety. I'm laughing at her rudeness. One of the videos, the calls before last I put up, I was juxtaposing the pain and terror that Davian and Dominic must have felt prior to the crash, during the crash. And then Mackenzie gets on the jail phone calls with her mom, Natalie Shirilla. Now, this is Dom's mom here. She's saying, may God have mercy. Only God can have mercy on her soul. But the pain Dom and Davian, her victims, must have felt prior to that crash and during the crash, and Lord knows what they went through in that car with her, trying to prevent it. But she gets on the phone, a jail phone call with her mom afterwards, sometime afterwards, many months afterwards, of course, after her arrest. And she's just like, this bench is hard as F. And, when are they going to come get us from this room? And, can I take this cast off my arm? It was so obviously did look like a ploy for Mackenzie to gain sympathy from the jury. Like, I'm so hurt in the crash too. I'm not saying she wasn't hurt, but they have a conversation about that cast too, where, Mackenzie wants to take it off her arm. So the fact that she's so demanding, if she does suffer from anxiety, this is not the way to treat it. She doesn't have to act like an a-hole, if you have anxiety. Weeks later, Mackenzie, it's almost like she's trying to charm her dad here. She's like, you want weed peanut butter? It's November 28th. It's 5 p.m. Her dad's like, no, LOL, I don't like to eat my weed. And then Mackenzie's like, well, I'm going to give you a little. And then she goes, are you making me milk? Well, that's later. So I thought they were all together, but people have picked out that interesting little snippet because obviously November 28th, 2020, she's asking him, you want weed peanut butter? And he's like, I don't like to eat my weed. So it's kind of wherever he has claimed he doesn't do it, he probably does it, which I don't even really care. I know people are all up in arms over cannabis. Okay, the age is one thing, yeah, of the person in taking it, and the strains, a lot of things do matter. But I guess I'm just more over the top about her attitude. Anyway, December 7th, 2020, it's 11:44 p.m. to her dad, are you making me milk? And then she goes, Dad, and I guess he doesn't respond. Now let's move to the following year. Mackenzie again to her dad, will you make me warm milk, please? 9:53 p.m., it's nighttime, but her dad does not reply to that 9:53 p.m. text. Will you make me warm milk? I don't want to sound totally harsh, but I get it. If your child is sick, I don't even care their age, but of course if they're younger, you do a lot more for them. Even if they were Mackenzie's age, around 15 or so, around this time, 15, 16, I would still cater to my daughter if she were sick or if she were kind. You like to do things for your family if everyone does something for the other person. Like sometimes they might say, oh, can you bring me a glass of water? And later the other person brings the next person a glass of water. Everyone does for each other. It's mutual, but she's just so self-focused, so demanding. Now, Mackenzie to Dom, this is March 8th, 2021. I puked. I'm still puking, so she was still puking So at first it was 10 p.m. on March 8th, 2021. Now it's March 9th, 2021, 1 a.m. So she's still puking hours later. Dom is like, I almost puked too, those milkshakes. So Mackenzie says, I threw up like 4 or 5 times last night. This is March 9th, 2021 at around 8:32 a.m. And on the way home from your house, she's saying, like I was literally waking up to throw up. And Dom is like, ew, I'm sorry. Now this is a horrible, I like when they zoom in. Kudos to the WKYC camera person here for zooming in on them. All right, Mackenzie has the nerve to text her dad on March 16th, 2021 at 10:20 p.m. Milk is cold as F. I'm sure maybe they get the cursing from their parents. The first time I cursed around my mom, she was just quiet, like, what? Because I was mad. She was going to leave the dog outside. Our dog ran away, and we were trying to find him and couldn't find him, and it was winter, Chicago, and I was like so mad we were going to leave. I was like, we can't leave the dog outside in the winter where we can't find him, When I haven't played this one. Oh, that's the one where she was complaining about her pain. Oh, this girl. That's when she's like, yes, Your Honor, I'm satisfied with my counsel. And the state's attorney, he's like, how she raced down this street, being all unconscious. Anyway, March 16th, 2021, she's like, milk is cold as F. And yeah, maybe she learned all this cursing from her parents. It just seems so unacceptable. And to me, okay, fine. I'm not big on who cares about cursing. I don't choose to do it a lot on this channel because I'm always cognizant too of like moms in the car with their kids listening to me. And when my kids were little, I didn't want them hearing all these curse words and learning new words, So, but with these jail phone calls, be warned, I don't even edit out the curse words because you wouldn't even understand what she's saying. I'd be editing out 1,000 curse words. I mean, it would just be like bleep, bleep, bleep. But Mackenzie has the nerve to say, milk is cold as F. I'm going to drink it, but it's not warm to her dad. And her dad says, bring it down. So it's March 16th, 2021. It's 10:21 p.m. I mean, talk about bratty. Days later, Mackenzie to her dad, March 17th, 2021. Can you make me more milk, please? 10:29 p.m. Dad's like, okay. Okay, now Dominic is like, you want to go to Walmart and throw milk jugs? And this is August 21st, 2021, 7:41 p.m. And then he's like, do you want me to come sleep over? And by then, Mackenzie is 17 and she's like, yes. So I don't know if they ever threw the milk jugs. I think that was a thing. You remember you would see on TikTok people just making a mess of stores, bored kids, throwing milk in the aisles. Now, Mackenzie texted Dom on October 2nd, 2021. You want to get ice cream or milkshake? And Dom is like, yes. The next year, the year of the crash, 2022, Mackenzie is texting Dom, get me a milkshake. So demanding. What happened to please and thank you? That's what I'm trying to say. January 28th, 2022, it's 7:23 p.m. She texts Dom, get me a milkshake. And Dom is like, a milkshake from where? She's like, anywhere. And then arguing ensues because I'm reading, in between the lines and she's kind of like, where are you at? And blah, 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 blah. She looks so creepy there to me. I know she was pissed off during that trial. Man, if it was only the whole thing was live streamed anywhere. So Dom, after all this arguing, January 28th, 2022, it is 7:55 p.m. And he's like, can we just go get milkshakes? Because I think she was saying she wanted the milkshake because she was checking on him. She was like, let me see where you really are. Because she started asking, where are you? And blah, 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 blah. Now, Mackenzie is like, I'm like not even in the mood anymore. Like, you just pissed me off. She always says like what another person did. She's so manipulative. Like, her mom is like, stay in protective custody. And she's like, why, Mom? And it's like, your story's everywhere, it's growing. And she's just like, well, you just gave me anxiety. She like blames everyone for her mood. Now, Dom did ask her on February 22nd, 2022, do you have buttermilk and basil? Mackenzie says, yes, basil, no milk. So that was I was surprised they were out of milk there, huh? February 22nd, 2022, 6:13 p.m. And now Mackenzie is like, do you know cold foam is made with cow milk? This is March 3rd, 2022. And Dom is like, I'm not surprised. Now, I know I saw some milk photos because I was searching for everything milk, related. And I see she has in her memories, there's almond milk. So she did drink almond milk. It looks like some kind of iced white mocha venti from Starbucks. And then there's some kind of Origin milk, 100%. What kind is this? Chocolate milk. And she says something, I don't know if that's hers though, and she says something about, I don't know how I'd live without my chalky milk. Like chocolate, she calls it chalky. So I'm wondering, she figures out cold foam is made with cow milk on March 3rd, 2022. I was wondering if she was one of the people like, I know some people really have a problem with cow's milk, but was she like, oh, I have such a problem with this, and she doesn't realize cold foam was made with that until later, and then it became a problem. Anyway, Dom is asking her on March 16th, 2022, 3:27 p.m. Do you want condados? I could go for that. And Mackenzie shoots back, is that GMO? Call them and ask. Like, I'm not eating cheese with milk in it. And then Dom's like, I'm going to look online. And she's like, call and ask. I was like, so demanding. All he does is ask her, hey, do you want this to eat? It looks good. And she's just like, oh, is that GMO? Oh, I can't eat, cheese with milk in it. You better call and ask. And then he does. Eventually, I read on. He calls and asks. And he's like, I've been on hold for like 2 minutes now, and I did ask. I don't know, just difficult. Just that type of difficult person, difficult for no reason. Like, she should be sweet as pie. Don't be difficult. Maybe she knows that now, and it trips me out because she was talking about, how bad the jail food was certain times and how she'll only eat peanut butter. For a while, she was only eating peanut butter, but now, I hear it's kind of like she has other people cooking for her, just like they did when she was on the outside. Is she just like, she believes she looks so good on the outside and is so manipulative and witchy she can just trade her good looks? Because she doesn't have charm, really. Trade that to get people to do stuff for her. Here's why Mackenzie needed milk per the court evidence. Based on the trial testimony, which we can't see all of. Oh, and the transcripts, they're 622 pages, nearly $4,000 it is. So I was like, oh boy, I hope those are out there somewhere. Maybe I'll look for them. Based on trial testimony, investigative files, and testimonies from people close to the case, Mackenzie's frequent requests for warm milk or milk late at night were primarily related to severe anxiety, panic attacks, and trouble sleeping. So I understand that. A lot of people I know like a warm glass of milk at night. That's one of those things, especially back in the day, maybe like during the Brady Bunch or something, they'd be like, oh, you want a warm glass of milk to go to sleep? I'm not much of a milk person myself per se, but especially if it's cold, and maybe it's a ritual that she got into with her parents when she was a little girl. Maybe it wasn't the milk per se, it was just, maybe her parents sat there and read her a book or just talked to her or, talked her down from wherever this anxiety came from. It says, though, during the trial, testimony regarding her daily habits and her medical history revealed a few key contexts for this recurring request. She had anxiety and sleep troubles. Mackenzie suffered from intense nighttime anxiety, nausea, insomnia. Warm milk was a comforting routine she relied on to soothe her stomach and help her calm down enough to sleep. Now, some people have attributed this to certain substances. Was she tripping on these substances as a teenager? And they say warm milk can kind of like calm you down. We don't necessarily have direct evidence of that. And some people are making it a lot more sinister. They're trying to say warm milk was a euphemism for, seminal fluids or something. And they're kind of like, why is she asking her dad and not asking her mom? Well, I'm not going there. That's not me saying that. And I don't even really believe it may have been that. I mean, anything's possible, but I'm not defaming that man or saying anything about that. I'm saying maybe her dad was a little more of a pushover. That's why she asked him to bring it as opposed to her mom. Maybe her mom had said, look, I do enough for you. I'm not doing this. And she would get into it with her mom. So maybe Mackenzie knew she could get over on her dad a little bit more. Perhaps. But the physical symptoms, she talks about being in physical pain or feeling sick to her stomach. That aligns with testimonies that described her struggling with the vomiting syndrome, cyclic vomiting syndrome, or the severe anxiety-induced physical illness. I have, seen people talk about how thin she was. And, are they attributing that to certain disordered eating patterns or what? And it talks about her parental dependency. People observing the case files noted that even though she's disrespectful to her parents, she was asking her dad to make her warm milk in the middle of the night. It was a consistent childlike routine she maintained. She depended on her parents for comfort. And I can see that in this one of the latest ones where Mackenzie, the jail call, and we don't have dates. A lot of them are probably around August 2023. Praying I'll get some other ones from couple of different other institutions. In Jesus, we will see. If it's meant to be, we'll have those. Because people really are obsessed with this case, and I'm even more obsessed with it too, trying to understand. Maybe it can help parents or, not coddle their children, and how do you deal correctly with anxiety or this type of whatever it is. I don't know what condition she truly had. People call her, of course, a narcissist. Was it borderline personality disorder? What the heck is it? Where did her anxiety come from? And milk can be, coating and soothing to certain stomachs. It might have just been the presence of her parents bringing it to her and that comforting factor. Was it something else? I don't know. One day late, will the Ohio Supreme Court hear Mackenzie's cries? Now, Mackenzie had this petition for post-conviction relief. It was filed on October 24th, 2024. Now, Judge Russo found, okay, the state makes a point. This petition is time barred. It was filed late. And it was like, wait a minute. The trial transcripts and related materials were filed a year earlier, October 24th, 2023. The deadlines, if it was calculated from a 365-day deadline, it should have been October 24th, 2024. And that's the exact day the defense filed the motion. Waited till the last minute. Maybe lawyers do this. Huge motion, all this stuff that's in it that her mom talked about, like, oh, Dom was the one who really grabbed the wheel. It wasn't. I'm not talking about during the crash, but I'm talking about the previous time, 2 weeks before the crash, where Mackenzie is texting her mom like, oh, Dom, come get me. And Dom tried to harm me or whatever. And he was going to grab the wheel, but it may have really been her grabbing the wheel or threatening to crash the car, just like Christopher Hinch, that Martin guy testified. But they were trying to flip it and blame it on Dom. Of course, the Shirillas were. They remind me of the Hatfields and the McCoys, fighting. I thought the deadline was correct, October 24th, 2024. But the conflict is 1 year versus 365 days because 2024 was a leap year. So February had an extra day, 29 days. So that means 366 days had elapsed between October 24th, 2023 until October 24th, 2024, rather than the normal 365 days they were expecting. So there's a legitimate chance the court will accept just this post-conviction relief just to settle that rule once and for all. Okay, what happens when they're leap years? Do they get an extra day to file, which would make sense? Or do you really mean exactly 1 year, or do you mean exactly 365 days? I know it's a technicality, but it's important. And to tell you the truth, maybe unpopular opinion, I do believe the Supreme Court should take this. But that doesn't mean they're like, oh, she's innocent, take her out of prison. I believe she's where she needs to be at ORW, and she should thank her lucky stars. She only got 15 years, if she gets paroled after 15 years, you know what I'm saying? Because she could have gotten 30 easily. If the Supreme Court of Ohio says, okay, we'll accept it, that doesn't mean they're deciding, oh, she's innocent. That only means they're deciding whether Judge Nancy Russo will actually open the envelope and rule on any of the medical merits of her petition. Might as well pause it there because I'm almost done. Ezekiel 10:13, I heard the wheels being called the whirling wheels. Regarding the wheels, the Amplified Version says, attached to them, I heard them called the whirling, rolling, revolving wheels. I know that's different than Isaiah here, 65, does it say? 24, feel like I'm at my eye test. Before they call, I will answer. While they are still speaking, I will hear. Woo! So God hears us. So I think maybe to settle that particular little nuance about a year versus 365 days when it's a leap year, yeah, the Ohio Supreme Court, maybe they should hear it, calm down these free Mackenzie people a little bit. But then when the judge digs further into these allegations, did she have ineffective counsel and all that other stuff, that won't fly. I think most of us, reasonable doubt, Shirillas keep talking about, oh, there was no intent. No one can give me proof there was intent that she crashed it. We can figure out logically that looking at that road, it's so just apropos that Mackenzie turns onto that road and that's where things fade to black, And then she goes down and she speeds. And even though you only have, 4.7 seconds of the, car's black box data, like her dad likes to keep saying, I mean, they're fighting for their baby girl. Even though you only have that much, that someone, even if they had a seizure, if they had POTS, whatever, it takes skill, it takes alertness, it takes awakeness, it takes intent to smash that pedal to the metal and drive those curves and hit it into the wall. Mackenzie was in the driver's seat. Even if they're going to try and claim Dom grabbed the wheel at the last minute, she was the one in control of the gas and the brake. It wasn't POTS. It wasn't, oh, I passed out, I don't remember. We can tell by the evidence, and we can tell by her affect afterwards. I'll tell you the truth. I know it might sound crazy, but if literally Mackenzie had told the truth, she would probably get out earlier. If she had humbled herself, under the mighty hand of God, that in due time he may exalt you. Imagine if Mackenzie, if she had humbled herself and said, you know what, I screwed up, I freaked out, I was so pissed off, Dom was about to leave me, I didn't want to be embarrassed, I didn't want to be a broke girl, go back to mom and dad and deal with them and, go work at the mall or whatever. If she would have admitted that and said, and I just lost it or whatever, or I was tripping off something, even though they said only THC was in her system and they did have her blood from that day from the life flight. Even if she said I was tripping off something you guys didn't even know I took that you didn't even test on this blood panel. Who knows? Whatever actually happened, we have to keep guessing because she won't tell us. If she had been honest and humble, as my mom used to say, and admitted why she crashed and killed those two precious souls, not saying she would have been set free, of course not. There's still consequences, but Judge Russo might have given her still just 15 years to life sentence. And when she came up for parole, very soon, in 11 years can go like that. When she's up for parole in 2037, the parole board might look back and say, you know what, this girl did tell the truth if she had done this. She's been serving out her time so sweetly at ORW. Let's let her out and give her a second chance at life. But like Judge Russo said, I have a feeling you're not going to be up for parole. Basically, she was saying, I have a feeling, girl, you're going to be in there till the end of time. Because look at how she's acting. Her disciplinary records, I've requested them too. I've emailed the warden. I'm doing a lot behind the scenes here. What if Mackenzie hadn't been acting an ass like she's acting now? All these disciplinary records, sneaking around, doing whatever. Not going to look good for the parole board. These jail calls won't look good for the parole board. Just like Susan Smith, remember the woman who drowned her children? She's been in there just acting up and getting all these disciplinary records. That doesn't look good for a parole board to see. This person, it's like you haven't changed. You haven't show some maturity and some change. Then it might help. So people, they might be falling for it if they haven't dug into the case that deeply. They might be falling for, how could they say? How would they know she crashed? But if they look at the actual evidence of the car and that actual road, dig into the text messages, see what was happening as July 31st, 2022 approached, all of it, the whole bankruptcy, everything informs the crash. You paint an entire full picture of what was going on. So that's what I'm attempting to do here by getting all these calls, on record. And, it's sad when her mom started crying because Mackenzie started talking about the Anastasia movie. She's like, I had this theme or whatever in my mind from that movie. And her mom's like, stop. No, Kenzie, we're still connected. I was trying to send you the Anastasia movie. And so it reminded me maybe when she was a little cute girl, maybe she had anxiety and maybe her parents would give her warm milk, and that's what she associated with calmness and a way to get attention. And it's all just so sad. It's very sad. So check out again if you haven't caught up on the jail calls. I'm still putting, I don't even know how many I still have. I think I still have 15 hours worth to put up, but I don't want to put like a huge chunk just to say, I like to categorize as much as I can. And of course, documents, check my Patreon. There's a lot of documents, the bankruptcy. I'll put more court documents up there. And as I get more of these FOIAs in, more evidence, I pray, that we've never seen before for this case, because people are just attached to it. And I hope if anyone recognizes themselves in Mackenzie, it prevents some murders from happening. Hopefully, does Mackenzie realize now it would have been better to walk away from Dom? No, her story is, oh, we probably would have been married by now. It's like, no, honey, I don't think you would have. Or if you would have been torturing him still. If not for her to find a way, a healthy way to deal with her anxiety that doesn't involve using and abusing and harming others. And it sounds like she's still kind of doing that in prison, having people, I don't care about her, whatever, you got to get all made up. Yeah, women, we like makeup. I got this highlighter all under my eyes, trying to wake myself up, but it doesn't matter. What matters is our soul. May God have mercy on her soul. Thank you guys for watching all this. Again, stay tuned for this and other cases, but I'm like kind of burning the candle at both ends to get all this evidence up. So thanks for watching all this. Stay tuned. Take care.